So in the last video I showed a bunch of random pieces getting taken apart on the car. There were some questions about the reservoir that's in my trunk. And that's actually electric power steering. The car is a mess right now, but luckily I have some clips from when I was making the power steering kit. So I'll kind of show like a tutorial of the wiring, how it gets installed. Then I'll also kind of like go over how it performs when you're drifting. So another big question is why? Why would you do an electric power steering? My RB swap came with a seized power steering pump. In America, those are really hard to find. I also had tubs at the time. I didn't want to have to drill into my tubs to make a power steering reservoir or anything like that, which is a benefit for the Volvo electric power steering pump because the reservoir is part of the pump. It also helps really clean up the engine bay. There's no power steering reservoir and there's no power steering pump or lines. So it's just nice and, well, it was nice. I got this out of a like 2005 Volvo S40. So that pump is going to come with this line. So this is the pressure line. And obviously this would be returned. This fitting kind of has like a unique style to it. It like has a flare as well as a O-ring seat. This fitting looked the closest when threading this in. You can feel it seat on the O-ring before it bottoms out. As for mounting on the rack, there's very specific threads and O-ring seats for the S-chassis rack. I ended up getting these off of Chase Bays. I ran both the pressure and return lines under the car, starting at the rack and ending towards the rear of the car. Then I welded a mount for the pump to sit on and put a quick layer of paint on it. So these lines come out in a perfect spot, basically go where my battery is, so I might just relocate my battery. So I think this is where I'm going to mount the pump. Alright, welded the mount in. So I'm using rubber grommet washers, I guess, in between the pump and the mounts. That way it's not like metal on metal when this thing is vibrating. Now I'm going to start the wiring process. Alright, so this is a 30 amp max fuse that you're going to use on this power and ground circuit. This is just the main power for the pump. This connector controls the speed of the pump and when it turns on and off. These two wires are for CAN bus, which we are not going to use, but this gray wire with a blue stripe we will use. You can either hook that to an ignition source so it turns on when your key is turned on, or to a switch which will just turn on whenever you want it to turn on or off. So I got the wires wrapped in nylon, made this one a little extra long just in case I needed more slack. Then I'll put these ring terminals on the end of these. Alright, ready to go in. I routed the main ground up through here on this mount. And the power source, since I had to relocate the battery, I'm going to route it all along here, through here, to about here. As for the trigger wire, I just have it through here as well. I haven't put it through anything yet. Alright, so we've got our wires all connected. Put all the interior back together. Have a 30 amp fuse in line. This blue wire I routed towards the front of the car and I have it on a switch. So this pump has like a 3-second delay. So this is my main power source. I'm going to turn it on and see what happens. I did put Dexron 3 in it just because that's what matches the rack and pinion. So I wanted to match the rack and pinion rather than the pump because I'd rather replace this pump than a rack. Oh wow. That is nice. You can kind of hear the pump struggling when it hits the end. Can't wait to see how this handles while drifting. Oh yeah, this turns really nice. So fluid exploded all inside of my trunk from this line exploding. So unfortunately, I made the mistake of using AN line on the pressure side. I was unaware these lines were only capable of up to 200 psi. Power steering pressures can reach up to 1200 psi. Luckily, I found this high pressure line that already has fittings on each end. During the install, I used angled adapters to try and fit the line nicely to prevent any kinks. So your finished product could look like this. You have your pump, make yourself a little mount, and then high pressure line. Make sure it's actually rated for the right amount of pressure. I use the 45-degree adapter here, and then there's also the adapter to the pump, and then the rack fittings. For the return, you can use the regular AN-6 line, and then this is actually basically a hose clamp, but it just looks fancy. Alright, so now, how does it perform? The electric power steering works amazing. I have absolutely no complaints for the performance that it puts out. Also, I'll leave the part numbers for the fittings and the lines that I used in the description, so hopefully that helps. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment, or you could even message me on Instagram and I'll try and get back to you.